Hello, and welcome to Engineering Thoughts, where engineering minds come together to discuss topics of interest. I am Neil Webb, and I'm joined today with Reentseng. Reentseng is the Divisional Manager of the Lesotho Highlands Water Project, and he has something like 30 years of experience in this amazing project, which is joining two countries together to provide water and power. So, Reentseng, welcome to Engineering Thoughts.
Thank you, Neil.
Reentseng, before we start talking about the actual project or anything like that, what drew you into engineering?
Wow. I really came into engineering really not by intention. It was, I would say, pure luck. I went to the National University of Lesotho to become a teacher. I studied sciences to become a science teacher. But then in my third year and final year, I was taught, or I had a lecture, an engineer at the time working at the Lesotho Telecommunications Company. So I enjoyed the electronics so much that when I finished, he said, Reentseng, come and work for Lesotho Telecoms.
So you actually started in the telecommunications industry.
I started there at the telecoms industry.
Sure.
And then a few years down the line, I went back to school, did now engineering.
Did you study electrical engineering?
I studied at the time, it was a combination of electronics and power engineering,
Okay.
Actually control systems in the United Kingdom.
Fantastic. So in your role now as divisional manager of Lesotho Highlands, how did you get into that position? How did your role develop into where you are now?
Yes, as I said, I studied control systems. And I was really interested in working in the Lesotho Islands at the time because it was really at the initial phase of the Lesotho Highlands Water Project, and they were looking for young engineers at the time to come and work in the Lesotho Islands. So I applied for control systems engineer position at the time, got the job, and we started there. Then from there, I work at the power station as a control systems engineer. And because as a control system engineer, you needed to then know the overall Lesotho Highlands Water Project in order to be able to then configure or maybe really do the controls of any of the systems that were installed at the project then.
Okay. What would you say were the milestones in your career with Lesotho Highlands? Can you identify sort of specific events that happened, or was it just a natural progression up the tree, so to speak? Or up the ladder, perhaps I should say.
Well, I would say yes, it was something like that in the sense that, as the organization went through phases, initially it was construction, and then it became operations and maintenance. And then I then applied for senior positions in this operations and maintenance until now, where I am now the divisional manager for development and operations, which is really looking after the operations and maintenance of the completed phase one infrastructure.
Okay, so before we go on to the maintenance aspect, I understand then that you were actually involved directly in the construction phase of the project?
Correct, Neil. First of all, when I joined the LHWP, we went for training to be able to then be involved in the actual construction of the electromechanical systems of the project. So yes, in the very beginning, 1995, that's after the civil part, digging the tunnels now, actually building the electromechanical infrastructure, I was involved in that part of the project.
Going back to the subject of maintenance, how do you program and schedule maintenance on a project that never stops? Never stops in inverted commas. Obviously, we have had shutdowns over the years, but what sort of things are involved in routine maintenance over the operational cycle of the system?
At the initial stage, the engineers really are sort of engineering that system with the maintenance aspect in mind. So there's already a formula that they built into their engineering of this system. to be able to say, okay, you have to do maintenance, visual checks at these intervals. And in some cases where it is possible to have duplicates, such that then you have a standby, and then they build in things like that. But sometimes really you can't really have a standby Lesotho Highlands Water Project.
Yeah, we've only got one tunnel.
You've only got one tunnel.
Yes.
So it says then there's already built in how to then do that maintenance where you're going to have a total shutdown. And when you have that total shutdown, you now have to plan it. Think ahead. How am I going to do this in order then to not to be able to have a total life-stopping moments, because life still has to continue. So yes, there is that built-in system of how to maintain that.
That must take a lot of organization and planning, as you say, so that when you do shut down the tunnel, you are able to then undertake other critical maintenance, such as drainage pumps or dewatering pumps and valves and things like that, which you normally cannot access when the tunnel is operating.
Correct. When you're anticipating or planning for a total shutdown, you then look, what else can I do? Such that then you don't really have too many shutdowns. Because then, as I'm saying, a shutdown would then have a sort of a total stoppage of the service that you are providing to the customers. If it is water, then you are not giving the people water or the customer water. If it is electricity, then it's the same. So you try to minimize that disruption that you do cause during that maintenance activity, because really maintenance activity is essential.
Yes.
That asset still has to provide the service for a very long time, 50 years, 100 years, depending on what that system is all about.
I mean, that leads me into my next question directly. I mean, we are seeing that there's an increasing demand for water and power. How is that steadily increasing demand on a finite infrastructure? How does that affect your long-term future planning as Lesotho Highlands?
It seriously affects the Lesotho Highlands Water Project. When we started in 1998 to deliver water through to South Africa, at the time, Gauteng water or the Lesotho Highlands Water Project, that water that we were delivering to South Africa was probably covering about maybe 80% of the Gauteng province needs at the time. And now I looked at it yesterday. We are supplying about 46% of the Gauteng needs. So the Lesotho Highlands Water Project significance is important, because if we don't have an alternative source, that source is still needed. But its contribution is gradually increasing, but it remains critically important, because the moment it is not there, 46% may sound like a small number, but it is really a significant amount of water that we believe it is really driving the economy of Gauteng.
Yes, we don't have much in the way of additional resource in South Africa for the Gauteng water catchment area. What plans are afoot to increase the output of the Lesotho project?
Currently, there's already an implementation of the phase 2 of the Lesotho Highlands Water Project, which will then increase the amount of 780 million cubic meters that we supply through to South Africa per annum. It will increase to about 1270 million.
That's a significant increase.
Yes, about 35% increase in the total amount of water that is being supplied through to South Africa. And going back to home, when we started in 1998, what we're supplying from the Muel hydropower plant was really all the country needed. But now we are only supplying about 40% of the power demand. The energy demand is about 55%, which is still, a significant amount. But it is also showing that really there is a needed investment to augment whatever that we are supplying from the Lesotho Highlands.
So will the phase 2 be an increase in available power as well as water?
It will be. As I said, water for South Africa, 35%.
Right.
Similarly for Lesotho, coincidentally, it is also 35%.
So we're talking about the future and we're implementing plans for the future now. The hot topic everywhere these days is AI, artificial intelligence. Do you see or have you experienced the use of AI in your operational planning or your future planning, or are we still running by the seat of our pants?
We started, in the 90s. There was already advancement in electronic technology. There is a lot of instrumentation that is being used in the tunnels, in the dam. So we're gathering information from how this infrastructure is behaving electronically. And I believe in the very near future, we'll then use artificial intelligence to actually interpret that information, and maybe with little human interference. So you probably get more information than we're getting, and a lot more, I would say, monitoring of the infrastructure automatically using AI, like maybe surveying, as I'm saying, maybe the periphery of the dam to see how it is behaving, the actual dam structure itself, how it is behaving. You could probably use artificial intelligence to see the performance and see how the dam is behaving.
Yes, I have on the few occasions when I've attended AI presentations, the big question mark has always been data. Data, data, data. You cannot have too much data. And I was involved in one of the dam safety inspections on the electromechanical side a few years ago when we visited Katsi. And I was quite surprised to see the degree of instrumentation that is already built into that dam. And all that information it's mind-boggling in terms of trying to interpret it. And I suppose that's where the use of AI will come in.
Yeah, for sure. As I'm saying, really, with artificial intelligence, you'll be able to then build in, if you are monitoring or going out to do survey, the artificial intelligence is already, working with the surveyor to then see, is there a difference that I'm noticing today to what was there yesterday?
Yes.
So that interpretation will probably, be quick. As I'm saying, it will probably, give us more advantage in the sense that we will probably be more proactive. You will see minute differences than when you're doing human interference or human analysis of the data.
And I suppose to a large extent, the intent of that monitoring and measurement is to try and prevent something similar to happening to what happened at Kariba, where they were suddenly surprised to find a huge hole downstream of the dam, which shouldn't have been there.
And again, with artificial intelligence, you could then even have instrumentation in the water to actually even see underneath the water levels, see what is really happening there, because that's really what you're referring to. They were not seeing underneath the water that the hole is being dug by the
overflow,
overflow of the water. Yes,
in the plunge pool.
Yeah.
And Reentseng, how are you mentoring and bringing in the new engineers? Because you and I are
Obviously
nearing the end of our active careers, and we're now passing on our little knowledge we've managed to gain over the years.
Correct.
And does Lesotho have a program of bringing in new young engineers, just like you were brought in as a young engineer 30 years ago?
Yes. Yeah, we do. We have a program of young graduates coming into the Lesotho Highlands. They do attachment or industrial training, as we call it. So they do that, and some of them, after completing, then they apply for openings in the Lesotho Highlands Water Project. Others then would go to other industries to really continue with their careers there. So that's how we do it. But really, as you're saying, every year or every 2 years, there is an opening for new entrants.
So you actually have a graduate training program, which is not necessarily linked to a definite position within the organization.
Yeah.
That's fantastic,
Yeah.
because that's something that is really lacking in many big institutions now, where they're only hiring people for the purpose of taking on a particular position and not looking to the future. And I think that's one of the biggest problems that we have, is that we don't have adequate, what used to be called apprenticeship. Now, in the engineering space, it may not be a physical apprenticeship, but even as an engineer, it is what we used to call the new graduate engineering programs. Those seem to be missing in many industries. So it's really good to hear that you guys are doing that. But on that topic, what would your personal advice be to those new engineers coming in and doing that program? As a new engineer, what would your pearl of wisdom be?
I would say, when you come in, really be open-minded, be a professional, do things with integrity. If you come into the team and you play your part, the people would take you serious, and they will, assist you, because they see that you're really playing your part, and really take an opportunity to ask questions, because sometimes we do projects that comes once in 5 years. And when you are lucky at the time that you are there, it is during that time showing enthusiasm to do the work and be part of the team. And if people see you that you're really, really willing to learn, they'll let you be part of them. And they will give you really inside the hand to really, gain a lot during that time. And that's really, my advice, that when you get there, push as hard as you can.
And Reentseng, in your 30 years or so with Lesotho, what would you say is something that has happened in that time that you personally are particularly proud of?
Just waiting for the LHDA. It's been amazing in that 30 years, because really every year has brought in different challenges. But there was a big challenge a few years back, when we had one of our units malfunctioning really in the middle of the winter. We had been trying to get a service provider international, but we couldn't, get the contractor in place. We ended up having to do this work internally, and we're successful with it. And really, again, the recent past, when we have this outage, we had planned it for 6 months, but it was difficult to do within the 6 months that we had planned. But eventually we finished it a few months or 1 month down the line. So it was really challenging, but at the same time, to complete it, it's significant achievement, I would say.
Super. Well, thank you, Reentseng. This has really been a most interesting discussion. Thank you for taking the time to chat to us and to help pass on some of your experiences to our audience. So thank you for tuning in to this episode of our Engineering Thoughts. Please don't forget to subscribe and to tune in to future videos, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.